evidence that has been revealed since 45's impeachment is still kind of in question at the Senate trial. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi held on to the articles of impeachment for almost a month before delivering them to the Senate, a decision that Republicans blasted as inconsistent with her claim that it was urgent to remove 45 to protect the integrity of the 2020 election. While critics argue that she undercut the House case with that delay, both Pelosi and the House impeachment managers point to the significance of the evidence that's surfaced since the House passed the articles of impeachment since December 18th. Time has been our friend in all this, Pelosi has said, calling the new evidence incriminating. Democrats have talked extensively about some of the newly emerged evidence and making their arguments at the Senate trial, but it hasn't yet been formally admitted as they demanded on a party line vote. The GOP-led Senate, even though GOP is another term for the Republicans, it says the Republican-led Senate voted to consider whether it should be allowed only later in the trial after arguments are made and senators ask written questions. Democrats called that exactly ass backwards. On December 22nd, House documents obtained by the Center for Public Integrity revealed White House officials requested almost $400 million in aid to Ukraine to be held 91 minutes after 45's call with Ukrainian President Zelensky. According to a record of that call released by the White House, the July 25th call between 45 and Zelensky took place between 9:03 a.m. and 9:33 a.m. At 11:04 a.m., Mike Duffy, an official with the White House's budget office, sent an email to Deputy Secretary of Defense David Norquist, the Chief of Staff to Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and the Pentagon's Chief Financial Officer. In that email, he instructed them to put a hold on the aid. A spokesperson for the Office of Management and Budget responded to the revelation by saying, "To pull a line out of one email and address the context is misleading and inaccurate." Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called the new evidence explosive, pushing his case for Duffy and other key players to be called as witnesses in the Senate trial. A top administration official, one that we requested, is saying, "Stop the aid 91 minutes after 45 called Zelensky and said, 'Keep it hush hush.'" Schumer said, "What more do you need to request a witness?" On January 2nd, an unredacted version of an email disclosed Duffy ordered the Pentagon to keep the freeze in U.S. assistance to Ukraine at declared direction from the squatter. Representative Adam Schiff, the lead House prosecutor in the Senate impeachment trial, said these emails undermined the White House's argument that the aid was withheld for a legitimate reason. U.S. law provides exemptions for the executive branch to withhold spending if the administration informs Congress of such decisions on a timely basis, which was not the case with the Ukrainian aid. The documents shown a compelling desire to prevent Congress from finding out. Schiff said in a statement, if there was a legitimate reason to place the hold and there was no concern about violating the law, they would have told Congress, but of course they didn't do that, since the whole point of the aid freeze was to coerce Ukraine into interfering in our election to help the squatter. Despite Democrats' call for witnesses, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell pressed for a swift trial without them. The Senate ultimately rejected Schumer's proposed amendment to the Senate trial rules, which would have subpoenaed testimony from Duffy. The amendment failed along party lines. In a tweet, Pelosi said the email showed an unprecedented total obstruction of Congress by the squatter. 45's former National Security Advisor John Bolton released a statement on January 6 saying he was willing to testify in the Senate trial if subpoenaed. Bolton was one of the four individuals Schumer demanded that the Senate call as witnesses, noting his attorney previously told House lawyers Bolton was personally involved in many of the events, meetings, and conversations about which he have already received testimony, as well as many relevant meetings and conversations that have not yet been discussed in the testimonies thus far, putting more pressure on Republicans to call new witnesses. Schumer called Bolton's statement momentum for uncovering the truth. Given that Bolton's lawyers have stated he has new relevant information to share, if any Senate Republican opposes issuing subpoenas to the four witnesses and documents we have requested, they would have made absolutely clear they are participated in a cover-up, which they are. Pelosi echoed Schumer on Twitter. The squatter and the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell have run out of excuses. They must allow key witnesses to testify and produce the documents 45 has blocked so Americans can see the facts for themselves. In an interview on MSNBC's The Rachel Maddow Show, Lev Parnas, idiot, an indicted associate of the squatter's personal attorney, Dumbass Giuliani, claimed 45 was fully aware of dumbass Giuliani's efforts in Ukraine. In an interview on CNN the following evening, Parnas said that both his and Dumbass Giuliani's efforts in Ukraine were all about 2020 to make sure 45 had another 4 years of squadron in the White House, which he doesn't need. Parnas participated in the first of these interviews on January 15th, the same day that Pelosi officially began the process to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. Shortly after delivering the articles, the House Intelligence Committee published new records gathered from Parnas as part of a subpoena request for September. The records included voicemails, photographs, videos, and messages further linking Dumbass Giuliani to his involvement in Ukraine. A key part being the efforts to dismiss former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Mary Yovanovitch. In one text exchange from 2019, a Connecticut man in a 45 blower, Robert Hyde, texted Parnas, "Well, can't believe 45 has fired that bitch. I'll get right in that." The text came 1 month before Yovanovitch was fired from her post, but Parnas and Hyde dismissed the exchange as not serious. The squatter adamantly denied ever knowing much about Parnas and what he was up to with Dumbass Giuliani, to which Parnas responded he was lying. And 45 claims he doesn't know Parnas, but they had like over 20 or 30 different pictures that I saw on the internet of them together, so he fucking knows them.